Here we are with the Amstrad Mega PC. I'll be selling this little beauty on eBay very shortly, so if you're watching this in the future, which is more than likely, it's already gone. Quite a nice licensed piece of hardware. This one has actually been upgraded to be the 486 SLC version. The main thing that you need to look for to find a compatible board is this link here, this ribbon cable. If it doesn't have that on the main board, you're not going to get a connection or an interface easily with the Mega Drive card. Because what it does is it decides those are actually jumpers there, and when certain ones are shorted, it determines where the VGA comes out of. Now when you flick this little switch at the front here, it switches some circuitry, the magic of underneath the bezel, over here, telling the motherboard to either display video from the PC side or the Mega Drive side. And that's pretty much how that works. So that's pretty simple, that's cool, that's easy. Floppy drives, standard run-of-the-mill, nice and easy. Hard drive, I believe it has to be around or less than 504 or 524 megabyte. There's some limit there that this mainboard or the previous mainboard didn't like. The SLC 486 version might be a bit more lenient with it. A little bit more tolerant, that's the word I'm looking for. Now in there we've got a Dallas DS1287A Plus date time battery, which is pretty much, I believe, an X-Tal with a little lithium ion battery inside it. So you can actually Dremel them apart and you get access to the battery, or you can just buy a new one. They're not too expensive. I've got an internal speaker there. Hard drive sits underneath the floppy drive, which comes out when you remove this little caddy section. With the 386 version, you often get battery leakage around here, so if you're going to buy a 386 version, chances are it will have damaged the floppy drive and possibly the hard drive connectors underneath. Mine actually, my original board was so bad it had eaten away at so many traces in this area. But that's the power of NiCad batteries. And a reason to steer clear of them if you can, which the 486 model does. We've also got in this particular one the XT IDE card. As you can see, I've decided to rebrand it as my own, McRetro.net, blast process since 1990X. It's an XT Lite 4.1 though. Do a Google if you're interested, they're quite good. This one is basically all based on the XT IDE project, and this one is reworked, so it uses compact flash and the LED's a bit smaller. There were some other changes, I wasn't paying too much attention, I'll admit. I think it's flash instead of CMOS based chip. I can't remember, it's been too long. But there's the Mega Drive card itself, which pretty much takes up the whole length of the machine, which actually isn't too long. It's actually not too bad lengthways compared to the TeraDrive, for example. The TeraDrive's a bit more, well, built by IBM. It's typical of an IBM machine of the same era. So we've got RAM on board. Oh, there's the model of the motherboard, just in case anyone's interested. So there was actually, this motherboard actually came out of a PC that Amstrad created that was basically without the Mega Drive part. It was just a box, a boring beige box. But it has a motherboard that's compatible with the Mega PC. So it's obvious that, well, apart from being able to slap a Mega Drive in here and make it appeal to a wider range of the masses, Amstrad also did believe in selling PCs, at least back in the day. So long ago. We've got volume on the front. What else is down here? Reset, which resets the Mega Drive. You can switch between the two. The PC stays running all the time, I've noticed. And if you switch to the Mega Drive resets whenever you click that switch. Or is it whenever you put a game in? Because you have to remove the game to switch back to the PC. So technically, if you were to just remove the front cover and use the switch, you could probably switch between Mega Drive and PC, like the Terra Drive did. But I've got to say, this is a pretty cool mechanism. I mean, who's going to be gaming and filling in Excel spreadsheets? No one that I can think of. Now you're probably wondering, what are the specs of the main board? Well, it's a 486 SLC, which is essentially a 386 SX with a 486 instruction set. Now what does that mean? That means that you can run 486 stuff, but it runs terribly. You're missing, I believe it's cache, one of the caches, L1, L2. The 486 SX is a crippled 486DX, essentially. Same problem. The SLC, I believe, was a bit more, or less gutsy. What else does it have? It's got some RAM. It's probably got about either 8 or 16 megabytes of RAM, being a 486. It's got onboard VGA, or Super VGA. I believe that's 1 megabyte. There, you can actually see some of the chips in there. Those socketed chips are the VRAM on this model. And we've got the SIMs over here. It's got a nice riser board. Standard AT power supply connector, which is nice. Form factor on this little sucker's a bit different. But it is Seasonic, which I had never heard of before, but they're actually apparently quite a reputable brand. They're still around today, so if that doesn't speak for anything, I don't know what does. So essentially in this current setup, it's a good little machine. It's got a 2 gig compact flash card and it runs like a beast. But it's time for it to be on its merry way. So I just thought I'd do this final video just so you could get an overview of it, because it has been a while since I've had a look at it. It still works okay. I mean, we can fire it up. Actually, we can fire it up. I've got a TV right here. Admittedly, I don't have a keyboard attached, but you don't need a keyboard to enjoy the command prompt. Okay, I unplugged it. That's cool. That would explain this kettle plug cable. Oh, you can also, it's also, oh, let's have a look at the, we haven't actually looked at the back, have we? Let's have a look at the back. So what have we got on the back? Well, for starters, a very dirty power switch indicating this machine was actually used. Wow, now that's impressive. It's got a power pass-through for a monitor, the Amstrad monitor, which is 15 kilohertz and 31 kilohertz refresh rate on one of the horizontal, vertical, I can never remember these things. See, I'm not an arcade person. People who do mess with arcades have to mess with that 15 kilohertz stuff all the time. Same goes for the RGB people, messing with their PVMs. I've got a volume, another volume thing on the back here. I believe that controls the PC side, whereas the front is the Mega Drive. 2 serial ports. More ports, more ports. We've got audio out for the Mega Drive, which then beams out to whatever your source is, and VGA, which, well, I can give you a somewhat of a demo. Let's have a look. Oh, it roars to life. Oh. And straight off the bat, we're in the wrong mode. We're on the Mega Drive side, so we're on the Mega Drive side. What happens? So it's pretty much a blank screen, which isn't too exciting. Let's start that again though. We can just have a look at, so this particular screen can actually somewhat pick up the signal from the Mega Drive side. So if we have a look at the top here, 720 by 400 at 70 Hertz. So if we pop in a cartridge, like so, there's the licensed by Sega, then the Sega logo. And I think that's Namco, because this is Pac Panic. And there's Pac Panic. And take my word for it, you don't want to sit in front of this too long, or you'll end up having some sort of seizure. But there you go, that's... So if you've got a compatible screen. I've actually got an adapter here which goes component to CGA, which can output correctly. Only problem is then is that it messes up the PC side. You need a better solution. Ideally, if you've got an Amstrad monitor, you're set. Anyway, let's switch over to the PC side and have a look what's going on there. Whoa! Absolutely nothing. I'll give it a reboot. And there's the XT IDE up and running. So it detects a foreign hard disk, which is the, well, technically it's the more, oh yes, and there's the memory. So we've got 16 meg in here, 486 SLC running at 33 megahertz. The 386 version runs at 25 megahertz, so it's a bit of an increase. And the hard drive apparently is 504 megabytes. So that'll boot to the internal hard drive, not the compact flash card. Which is all very exciting. But ever since the, yeah, I'll be sad to see this one go, but ultimately it needs a better home. With my recent encounter with a TeraDrive power supply failing, it's occurred to me that I need to downsize my collection and try and just keep an eye on things and proactively repair, especially in regard to capacitors. Because, boy, are capacitors a pain. Most of the capacitors on this board are actually tantalum or tantalum. Don't quite know the pronunciation on that one. But it doesn't matter, because it's going to be sold. The 386 board, by comparison, had a lot of electrolytic radials. As does the Mega Drive card. And again, what Mega Drive is a Mega Drive without having a ton of 10UF capacitors? They just love their 10UF capacitors. So this one, off to the sale yard, known as eBay. Although, one thing, my collection, as far as collections are concerned, I'm going to try and avoid licensed hardware. So anything that's JVC, Hitachi, Amstrad, Iowa, with the CSD GM1. No more of that, because I gave it away. Hopefully the chap who I gave it to will be able to fix it up. But I'm going to stick with only first party things. Helps me downsize my collection significantly. Which is good for space, because I do like having some space in my room. Anyway, this has been a Shane McRetro video as always. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. McRetro, out. Wow. Wow, look at that. That's perfect. It's very good for you to see thanks to reflections. But it's black. It's magnificent. Let's have a look at the Nintendo logo. Ah, just kidding.